got several cars that have still got question marks against them, Paul.
Yes.
It's actually third on the grid because there's a gap where second place on the grid ought to be. So
Right.
I suspect that whoever was second
Has not
in
made it back.
SP4T hasn't made it back. And so we've got a single car on pole position. Then there's a car behind that. And then the car that you've identified as the green TT, number 105, is actually third on the grid.
And it's in that kind of group just ahead of them with the 201 Seat we know is being refettled in the paddock.
Problem for the row BMW, which has not fired up or has not... No, that's not being held by officials, is it? That
no,
is actually,
that's
it's got
not been
team
able to
members
fire.
there. So, and the headlights are flashing on and off on the car. They're currently off, but it's cycling through side light, headlight, no light, side light, headlight, no light, which is presumably the car's electronics equivalent of control, alt, delete, and inside the driver, whatever the German for start, you wretch, start. There's a lot of that going on. So that car should have been in 11th position. And that is Alexander Sims, Philipp Eng, Maxime Martin and Dirk Werner. So that is an absolute front-running contender.
I think that was Dirk Werner that started that car, I believe. But no guarantee, of course, that that's the case now.
Door is open. Both doors are open. Crew members are in on both sides going, have you tried that? Yes, I have tried that. Have you tried it? Yes, I have tried that.
Tried the big red button that says start.
Yes.
Yes, I've tried that, funny enough.
Have you hit it hard enough? Come on, Gertie, is what my dad would be saying. Come on, Gertie, start.
Did it ever work?
Oh, yeah, always worked. Eventually.
Was it the car or was that your mum?
No, that's what old cars are called. Old cars are called Gertie.
Class 2 will be heading off in less than a minute now. I say Class 2, Group 2, the starting Group 2 will be heading off in less than a minute now. The leading car 2, the pace car effectively, will be has already got its yellow flashing lights on the roof, and that will be heading off and leading the second group away.
And they're now being shown the 30-second board, but the number 23 BMW, now not protected by yellow flags, is still sitting absolutely astride the white line that guards the pit lane exit. It is right in the middle of the track. We've got about 15 seconds. Now a man with a yellow flag, several crew members and a rescue vehicle with flashy yellow lights have come out, and we now have a second car waiting to make a pit lane start. And perhaps actually this is what the 23 needs, is a high-speed push down the hill and a bump start. And has he got fire in the hold? No. Or is it just rolling? Well, Group 2 are rolling up behind it, but they are widely straddled from basically on one side of the track and the other. So hopefully there should be no unnecessarily and unforeseen hitches for them.
It was getting applauded, but it stopped. It stopped, but is out of immediate harm's way. It's going to be difficult to push it up the hill there.
Which is why there is a rescue vehicle with it. It's come round turn 1, the hard right into the Haug hook, and has not made it on the hard left because there was no more speed left. So those poor crew members are puffing and panting as if they've just finished the London Marathon. And the rescue vehicle is attaching a towing eye. It'll be pulled in through the back of the paddock and back to Row Racing, who will then get the laptops out and beat it with them.
Number 188 is the other car that was waiting at the pit lane exit. That's the Lexus. And because they were both Group 2 cars, they have been allowed to join in at the back of their starting group. So the two cars that were in the pit lane are now out on the circuit. They will form up at the back of the starting group to which they belong, and so they won't lose a further lap by virtue of having missed the pit lane exit red light.
And again, you see, that is just so straightforward and sensible, and a very not up yourself way of doing things that you think, well, why can't everybody do things like that? Just give people a break and, you know, let's look at it logically. What harm is it doing? None at all. So they may have lost their position in their group, but they join or will join at the tail of the group. And in fact, it looks as though they probably have, because now, is that the moon rising? No, it's a reflection of water on the camera lens. And, oh, right, here we go. It is, however, really quite dark. Headlights are reflecting off a very wet track. It's not... Let's restate that. It's a wet track. It's what we saw earlier. That was a very wet track.
It's not an ideal point of the day to restart a race, is it? In streaming wet conditions and failing light.
Any time is an ideal time to restart a race. We're at the Nürburgring, we're at the Nordschleife. They didn't come here for an easy life. What they did was they came here for a heck of an adventure. Have they had a heck of an adventure so far?
They're going to get one.
Yeah, they are. They really are. So, starting Group 3 now makes its way past us and splashes off down. This is the predominantly, is it right to say touring car field? It predominantly is, isn't it? It is non-supercar manufacturers. You've got BMW 3 Series and Hyundai i30s and Renault Clios and
production-based,
yes, exactly.
Sports cars. So there are some sports cars in there. The Viper is in Class 3, for example, because it is not very modified.
Well, stretching the term sports car there a little, I think.
The Viper?
Yes.
That's a very contentious thing to say, Martin.
Well, why not? Come on, we've got a lot of hours left to fill.
I will still accuse you of being very contentious.
Indeed. Well, in there we've got a Viper, followed by a Mini Cooper, followed by a Prius. So, you know, that gives you an indication of what the third group looks like. Is that not a Prius? It's a Toyota, something that looks like a Prius.
That's one of the Thai Corollas.
Ah, right,
and I'm going to leave you to pronounce the names of the gentlemen that were actually driving those two cars, because I'm not even going to attempt it, because I think it would be insulting for me to do so.
And then, of course, not quite last, and indeed not exactly penultimate, is the Opel Calibra.
A classic in every sense.
However, had the foresight or even imagination to go for the even less worthy Calibra 4x4, they'd probably be on the front row of the grid by now.
They could be storming through the SP9s at this stage.
Yes, absolutely. They could carve their way up the hill through the ice and the showers.
Can confirm that restarting the two HTP Mercedes AMG GT3s will be Hohenadel and Baumann. And I think those two gentlemen were aboard the cars for the earlier part of the race as well. So that will continue.
So they've had their 2 hours rest during the red flag.
Actually, was it over 2 hours?
Yes.
And that counts, doesn't it?
That does count. Plus, of course, there's no indication or no guarantee that if you give the car to somebody else, it'll ever come back. So, hang on a minute, I've only done 4 laps. I'm going to have another crack at doing 4 more.
I'm getting to the stage where I'm feeling quite privileged that I actually might get to commentate on a racing lap here.
Oh, steady on.
Shades of Fuji and Mr. Hindhoff and myself a few years back in the WEC, the race that never was.
We will, by the time they get round, we will have had very nearly 3 hours. In fact, we will have had 3 hours under red flag conditions by the time they get round and we get the green flag shown. So we had 50 minutes of racing in which we completed 5 laps, but one of those laps has now been discounted in order to set the positions which the cars are now in, and we now have a race from here to the end, whatever that end might be.
Well, that'll be 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, hopefully.
Yes, quite. Then, as I say, that will be started by the safety car pulling off at the completion of the current formation lap that they are on.
I can tell you Sabine Spitz will be aboard the number 3 car at this restart. That was not initially planned, but Sabine is in that car.
Well, she's had more experience of the track today than anybody else in the field, having already done a full 6 laps in the World Touring Car Championship races, and then obviously doing now a formation lap, which will bring her tally up to 7. Everybody else will be up to a maximum of 6 so far. So the most experienced woman in the field is also the most experienced driver in the field today in laps of the track. No news yet on the 911 Porsche, which we saw 6 o'clock-ish still on a flatbed in heavy spectator traffic. Most of those had probably left to go home in a state of high dudgeon, the race having been red flagged before they'd even seen a pit stop. And the 911 Porsche was trying to make its way back on the flatbed, or the flatbed was trying to take it back to Manthey Racing. But it does rather seem as though that car and its mechanics, at least, will be focusing on their other car, the number 912. I don't suspect we're going to see 911 again. Had the car come back on the track straight away from where it had gone off, then they would have had a clear 2 or 3 hours to repair almost any damage. And as Jordi Genet's Seat team have proven, or the Seat team that's running Jordi Genet have proven, you can pretty much rebuild a car from scrap in that time, because they've almost managed to get the 201 Seat ready to go.
Absolutely right. So, yeah, there are a handful, and it is no more than a handful, I think around about 10 cars which haven't managed to get themselves out for the restart. And considering the conditions which caused the red flag in the first place, I think we've got away, I wouldn't say very lightly, but I think we've still got every prospect for a great race. Conditions are indeed very difficult, but nevertheless, everything we said before the start of the race when Johnny Palmer was taking us through the start of the race, and even in the countdown to green with John Hindhoff, that all still holds true. We've got a very closely matched group of cars at the front of the field. We've got uncertain weather conditions, and we've got some of the best drivers in the world driving these GT3 cars around one of the most technically challenging circuits in the world. So yes, it's been a frustrating 3 hours whilst we've not been doing anything, but all of a sudden I'm beginning to get all excited and get up on tiptoes again.
Well, in short, that's exactly what you should be doing, because we're at the Nordschleife. We've got a 24-hour race in prospect. We've got a stunning field of cars and a stunning field of drivers. And all we need now is them to hurry up and get round this formation lap, and then we can go green once more.
Give you an idea in terms of the numbers, 155 cars took the start finally, with one or two late exits from the entry. Of those, we have not yet accounted formally, at least, for 9 of them, Paul.
And number 23, the Row Racing BMW M6, which did go out, did come under starters' orders, but then conked out, has now got going again and is now waiting at the end of the pit lane where there is a red light. That obviously is correct. It can't go and chase around because it would only end up on the back of start group number 3 anyway. So what it's going to do is